Call to order the meeting of the Hammond Plan Commission for Monday, October 18th.
Recording in progress.
I'd ask that you rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and if we could have a moment of silence for General Powell, Colin Powell, who passed away today. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd ask Mrs. Morris-Smith to call the roll, please.
Roger Brock.
Here.
Dean Button.
Here.
Michael Dye.
Here.
Ann Herbert.
Here.
William Hutton.
Here.
Thomas Kazmierzak.
Here.
Dan Spitali.
Here.
Sharon Zaney.
Here.
Marcus Taylor. 8 present. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mrs. Morris-Smith. Next item on the agenda is approval of the meeting minutes. Cut to the chase. We are deferring the approval of the meeting minutes at this time. Any objection? Okay. You all right with that, Brian?
Yes.
Deferring the approval of the meeting minutes? Okay. Next item on the agenda is item number 4, which is old business. Is there any old business?
There's no old business.
Thank you, Mr. Poland. Next item on the agenda is item 5, new business. Petition CP 21-15, petition of Hammond RE LLC for a development plan approval in a C4 general commercial district located at 7905 Cabela Drive within the city of Hammond, Lake County, Indiana. I would ask Mrs. Morris-Smith if the notification requirements have been met.
Yes, they have.
Thank you very much. I will turn it over to the petitioner, Mr. Terpstra. If you could just identify yourself. I think we need an address, if you would please, and your colleague. And I think there's a sign-in that if you could sign in too, that'd be great. Please proceed with your petition. Thank you.
Sure. Again, Attorney John Terpstra. Address is 11131 Fairbanks Court, Crown Point, Indiana 46307. With me is Russ Posen from DVG Team Inc. Want to recite your address?
Yes, we're at 1155 Troutline Road, Crown Point, Indiana 46307.
Thank you.
And good evening, Commission members. Really appreciate your time this evening. Time is precious, so any time I have with you, I take very seriously, so thank you. I have met with Mr. Button and Mr. Poland, as well as various other members of staff and members of the team here in the city of Hammond. You guys have all been very helpful, very responsive, and enthusiastic to work with, and we really appreciate that. To give the commission members a little bit of history and background, I am of the Terpstra family that grew up in Highland. My grandfather started Highland Department Store way back in the day. My father was a part of that as well, moved on from there, did various other businesses, and in 2006 purchased an existing Culver's restaurant in Lansing, Illinois. From there, the Terpstra family purchased an existing Culver's restaurant in Maryville, Indiana. The Lansing, Illinois restaurant is no longer part of our group or family of restaurants, but we still have the Maryville restaurant. From there, we went into, oh boy, I'm going to challenge myself on the history here. From Maryville, we went into Highland, which we constructed and partnered with the town to develop the intersection on the southwest corner of Klein Avenue and Ridge Road. We then moved to Cherville, Indiana. We purchased that existing restaurant right around Route 30, about at Route 41. From there, we developed a new restaurant in Crown Point, Indiana, partnered again with the city there at Broadway and Summit. From there, we developed a restaurant in partnership with the town of St. John on 41 in front of Strachan Van Til and Target. And now we are blessed enough to be in front of you all tonight asking for your approval of a plan of development for a new Culver's restaurant at the Cabela's Out Drive at that development where it has the Walmart as well as the new ER and hospital center. Mr. Poland did an exceptional job. In fact, I think he may know this project better than I do at this point in putting together the summary of points. We also put together a cover letter, but just to give you a general outline of what the development will look like, we will be on the southernmost parcel of the 4 or 5 out parcels in front of Cabela's. Just to the north of us will go the car wash. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that parcel as well, but we will be directly adjacent to that car wash. It is about a 4,060 square foot building. It will have a double drive-through, which will accommodate 2 queuing lanes to avoid any traffic backup into the street. We have sufficient space between the ordering board and the window to allow for additional queuing, and then we have lanes of queuing after the window. I think we have 4 lanes which can accommodate 5 cars each. That's about 20 cars queuing while they wait for their food to arrive. Obviously, we'd never expect 20 cars to be waiting at any given time, but we'd rather be safe than sorry. Also, you will note on the plat that there is a drive-through or a pass-through lane, as we call it, through the drive-through, which is imperative for safety in case an emergency vehicle needs to get through that drive and we are still open and operating, then that emergency vehicle can pass through that drive lane. We will have 86 seats, I believe, on the inside dining room portion, and we're asking next week for conditional approval or a conditional use of an outdoor seating area that will accommodate about 28 seated guests. We have an ingress-egress point, which is directly across from and aligned with the drive to the south of the Walmart property to the north of the ER and hospital center. That will be a right out and a straight, so there won't be one lane for a right and a straight through. There will be a turn-in lane and then 2 exit lanes as well. As far as the parking goes, the parking spaces are traditionally sized. Signage is all in your packet. There's nothing there that would require a variance or a special use or an exception. And these are all plans that are consistent with the restaurants that we've already developed in the area as well. We take pride in partnering with our communities. We are up for what Culver's Corporate calls a Ruth Award this year, which are only the top restaurants that give back to the community. That is based on the amount of money and funds that are given back to any community. In fact, we have, I think, 6 fundraisers scheduled for this week only at our family of restaurants. So it is very important for us to partner with the community that we're in. Once we are open, we will be employing up to 60 employees, which come directly from the community. Because we have somewhat of a competitive market within our own family of restaurants, it is more likely than not that certainly a majority, if not all of our employees will come from Hammond. Most of our Highland employees are from Highland and Griffith, right on the border there. Same with Crown Point from Crown Point, St. John from St. John, Cherville from Cherville and Dyer. But we fully anticipate that a majority, if not all of our employees will come out of this community, which we're excited about. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have from a business perspective, what our plans are for the development of the site. Mr. Posen is here to answer any engineering questions that you guys may have. But again, I would refer you back to the packet. Hopefully you've all been able to at least review a little bit of what this is all about, and we're excited to get moving and have your approval, at least a favorable recommendation from you tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Terpstra. Pleasure working with you, and what a great brand that you have and offered for our city. Thank you. Questions for Mr. Terpstra or Mr. Posen from the commissioners? No questions? Questions? Thank you for your presentation. If we can, at this time, we open it up for a public hearing for anyone that would want to speak and ask questions. We would let them go through the whole public hearing process and then give you an opportunity to come back and answer maybe some of those questions if there are any. So at this time, I'll open it up for a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of the petition? Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in opposition of the petition? Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak or make a comment on the petition in any way? Being none, I'll close the public hearing. Anyone online? Thank you, Mr. Poland. Is there anyone online wishing to speak on this petition? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing portion of this meeting. Thank you. Mr. Terpstra, is there any other comments you'd like to make at this time?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Assuming the commissioners still have no comments or questions, I would turn it over to the staff for a staff report. Mr. Poland?
Yeah, if I could ask the cameraman, did you get the site plan on camera? Okay. Okay. And then for the commission members, I just want to make sure that you received the revised staff report. There was just a minor technical correction in that. And then also to point out in your, in the site plans, there was there's a new site plan that was added. It's kind of tucked loose into your documents. The major difference, or the only difference.
Mr. Poland, could you speak into the microphone a little
okay.
clearer, please? Thank you.
The only difference in the site plan that is submitted was the location of the outdoor seating. As indicated by Mr. Terpstra, the outdoor seating is going to be a matter for the Board of Zoning Appeals at next Tuesday's meeting. Just by ordinance definition, any outdoor seating of this size does require a conditional use permit. Just a couple of things to comment for the record. Noting in your site plan at the, it'd be at the top of the page, which would actually be an easterly direction. Some of the contours do cross into the parcel that is owned by the Indiana Department of Transportation for the ramp. They have provided a document that INDOT has no objection to that contour change. We also have been provided the documentation for the Rule 5 compliance for the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. The site plan also does have a cross-access easement that goes to the car wash. As you know, we had looked at that at the last meeting, and this is just reflecting the fact that the two parcels are coordinating their access. The intent is with the two other parcels in this area that would be a continuous access drive. I do note also want to note about the contours on the north side of the property. They are showing a downslope into the car wash property, and that is a matter of coordination between the car wash developer and them when it comes to the actual construction of the property, just to make sure that the slopes are coordinated in concert. The property is going to be elevated, I think it was about 5 feet. Yeah. It's not technically required to be elevated because this property is out of the floodplain, but if you look at the development in this area, all the properties have chosen to raise their development up somewhere in this 5-foot range. There were some properties that were raised 6 to 8 feet just because of the nature of the slopes of the ground towards the river. Just also note for the record, the setbacks are met, the lighting plan is compliant. It was also stated that the sign requirements the signs are in compliance. The landscaping is in compliance. So kind of like getting down to the staff recommendation and the staff report, which is the bottom of the second page. Overall, the development plan is designed to be compatible in design and architectural character, which results overall in a harmonious, efficient, and convenient retail area. The Redevelopment Commission has looked at this property, and it has been determined to be compliant with the economic development plan of the area. As part of the development plan approval in accordance with the ordinance of Title Section 2705, the Plan Commission is to make a findings of fact based on all the evaluation and as stated above in the report. Staff recommends that the Plan Commission make the findings of fact as follows. 1, the development plan complies with the applicable standards of the underlying district in which the lot is located, subject to the BZA granting the conditional use for the outdoor seating and the resolution of the enclosure fencing. 2, the re-subdivision is recorded in creating the subject lot. 3, the proposed development is compatible with the architecture and character of the existing area and is therefore appropriate. And the proposed development occurs on appropriately zoned property as contemplated in the 1992 comprehensive plan. One other comment of note, there was an issue of the grading, preliminary grading being done on the property, and kind of like cart before horse issue. And with all of this approval, that can be cleared up through the permitting process and just getting that resolved. The Department of Environmental Management did chime in on that issue to make sure that the fill was of the appropriate quality of soils and all that's under their jurisdiction. Therefore, staff recommends the Plan Commission grant final approval of the development plan subject to 1, finalization of the technical requirements and corrections. Just a note, there really aren't any at this point other than maybe some issues regarding to the outdoor seating. 2, approval of the conditional use by the BZA and the determination of the enclosure fencing. And 3, resolution of the preliminary grading stop work order. If the Plan Commission agrees, then this report should be adopted as preliminary findings of fact.
Thank you, Mr. Poland. Questions for Mr. Poland? Being none, the chair would entertain a motion to make the findings of fact as follows. The development plan, number 1, the development plan complies with the applicable standards of the underlying district which the lot is located, subject to the BZA granting conditional use for the outdoor seating and resolution of the enclosure fencing. 2, the re-subdivision is recorded, creating the subject lot. 3, the proposed development is compatible with the architecture and character of the existing area and is therefore appropriate. And 4, the proposed development occurs on the appropriately zoned property as contemplated in the 1992 comprehensive plan. Is there such a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Dye. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Zaney to make that finding of fact. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Mrs. Morris-Smith, roll call on the motion.
Roger Brock.
Yes.
Michael Dye.
Yes.
Ann Herbert.
Yes.
William Hutton.
Yes.
Thomas Kazmierzak.
Yes.
Dan Spitali.
Yes.
Sharon Zaney.
yes,
Dean Button.
Yes.
8 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions. Motion passed.
The chair would also entertain a motion that the Plan Commission grant final approval of the development plan subject to the final, number 1, the finalization of the technical requirements and corrections, if any. Number 2, approval of the conditional use by the BZA and determination of the enclosure fencing. And 3, resolution of the preliminary grading stop work order. Is there such a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Dye. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Spitali. Any discussion on the motion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call on the motion. Mrs. Morris-Smith?
Roger Brock.
Yes.
Michael Dye.
Yes.
Ann Herbert.
Yes.
William Hutton.
Yes.
Thomas Kazmierzak.
Yes.
Dan Spitali.
Yes.
Sharon Zaney.
yes,
Dean Button.
Yes.
8 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions. Motion passed.
And finally, the chair would entertain a motion to adopt this staff report as a preliminary finding of fact. Is there such a motion?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbert, thank you for this, for the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Dye. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Mrs. Morris-Smith, roll call on the motion.
Roger Brock.
Yes.
Michael Dye.
Yes.
Ann Herbert.
Yes.
William Hutton.
Yes.
Thomas Kazmierzak.
Yes.
Dan Spitali,
Yes.
Sharon Zaney,
Yes.
Dean Button,
Yes.
8 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, and we look forward to you and your next steps, and can't wait to eat one of those famous hamburgers at the new store.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Terpstra. Thank you, Mr. Posen. Next item on the agenda is correspondence.
No correspondence.
Thank you, Mr. Poland. Any, next item on the agenda is the commissioners' comments. Any comments from commissioners? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is staff comments.
We are expecting a November Plan Commission meeting, and that is the 15th.
Next meeting will be on the 15th. Thank you. Any other staff comments?
No more comments.
Thank you. Any public comment? I don't see anyone from the general public wishing to speak at the Plan Commission. Chair would entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion.
Thank you,
Second.
Councilman Vitale, seconded by Commissioner Hutton. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.